I just finished watching the Simple Man podcast. That was fun. Looked like a good down at B team. Yeah.
What'd you think, man?
It was good. I think it's cool to see that many people starting to at least be open to the idea and have the conversation. Right? I think that's the biggest point. At least people are talking about it. Like, obviously, there's like a lot of misunderstanding of definitions and what they mean. You know, it's becoming the like, well, it's eco or it's not eco, and like this is at least they're talking about it. You know?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, you know, in the jiu-jitsu community anyway, we've been talking about this shit for like 3 years, and people are still asking day one questions. Blows my mind.
Yeah, for sure. Tell Gavin if he wants poker lessons, I'll trade poker lessons for private lessons. I played professionally online and live. So
dude, he would easily do that for you, man. He would easily do that for you.
That'd be sick for sure. We'll wait till a couple people get in here, give people a few seconds to jump in. So more muscle memory. Yeah.
That shit was crazy, man. Like, have you looked into the concept at all?
Which concept?
Muscle memory is the thing.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I think somewhere in the CLA literature and some of the eco literature, like, it became clear. And then I started asking ChatGPT for deep research and stuff like that, and kind of going back and forth, and like, oh, it's just really not a thing. It's not certainly isn't what we thought it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of the whole CLA as a whole is like, we don't know exactly what creates skill, but we know it has to happen in context, you know, to put it as simply as possible.
Yeah.
You're saying, you said on there, you're a coffee snob?
Man, yeah, kind of. Because, I mean, like, here's what's crazy. Like, I only drink water and coffee, so I don't drink anything else. So my palate is so sensitive to it.
You're in for a treat when you come out here.
Oh, yeah?
We got, so Rockford has really cool, like, little local coffee shop. They roast everything in-house. It's fantastic. It's like a quarter mile from the gym. So, yeah.
There was this other spot we went to. I think it was called like Mosaic or something. It was actually really good. It had something called like a flash brew. So basically, it was like they would take the espresso, let it cool down just a little bit, and they pour it quickly over ice, and it just it like really spiked the flavor profile. It was truly amazing. I was like, oh, this is good shit.
That's cool. Yeah. It only shows the. That's all right. We'll share it later. It's not sharing to our brand account for the bigger reach, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, that's all right. Whoever doesn't get to see it doesn't get to see it. It'll be fun. We'll reshare it later anyways. But yeah, cool. Can everybody hear us? Okay. There's still definitely people coming in. What's up, Vinny? What's going on, Corey? Welcome to the chat. Good stuff. But yeah, probably the main thing I wanted to talk about today is like what CLA seminars look like and what CLA like instructionals might look like and things like that. You know what I mean? I think it's time for the conversation to move forward. I don't, you probably don't even realize it, but because of the exposure to CLA and the new, I'd say, ideologies, there's a lot of gyms in the Midwest that are training that way now. Like a surprising number. I see them popping up more and more. So it's changing things. You know what I mean? So like to me, it's like move the conversation forward. Let's talk about what do seminars look like when there's CLA, not like should it be or shouldn't it be? Like what is that?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I've been doing it a bunch of different ways. So I've tried many iterations of how I want to approach introducing the CLA, but also make it a jiu-jitsu learning experience. So I usually use 3 typical ones. So I'll do like a whole practice. So this is one of my most popular where I'll do like, I'll run like a basics class for everybody. So I'll do like 2 standing things, 2 guarded things, and 2 pinning things. And then we'll literally talk about why I designed it that way. So rather than like a regular class where they just do the work and then go home, we basically give them the situation, but we discuss first what we're actually doing, let them experience it, and then we discuss it afterwards. Hey, what do you guys think? Do you guys understand why I made the task this way, made the test that way? Like, how would you change things? And you just create a discussion. And we do that throughout the entirety of the seminar. So it's like a live experience plus conversation. Um, I've done it with submission specifically. So we've done seminars that's strictly around like different ways we can design entanglement games. So I've done a whole 90 minutes where we just look at different ways that I historically use task focus to enhance or create the ability to entangle. So it just put people through a practice and then discuss it.
Yeah, I like that. That to me makes a lot of sense. You know,
Yeah.
that's to me, I think you know, seminars at one point in time were a business model for a lot of people. You know, like that was one of the things that like so we host one of the bigger seminars in our area. Actually, probably the biggest grappling seminar twice now. With Daisy Fresh came out, we had like 100 people show up.
That's
With
fucking
Ethan, all those guys, and I liked what he did different. It was a different seminar than I'd ever been to. It was probably 80% of it was live training. It was, you know, a lot of situational sparring and stuff. And it was 3 days long for the price that I would have typically paid for, you know, to actually train with the guys and how they train at home. You know what I mean? Instead of going to, you know, yeah, I've been to others, you know, I won't say names, but like I paid a decent amount of money for what amounted to a photo op, you know, something I'll never remember or never use, you know. So it's
I
good
think
to
like
see that evolve. Like the value model has to change,
I agree.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because well, details are fine and fun to remember, but if we don't know how to take those and turn them into actual practice tasks, they're basically useless.
Yeah, that's
So
I had I've had a weird background, I guess, as a coach. But that was one of the first things when I started coaching that I realized is the type of autism I have. I can memorize all kinds of details, and but I realized two things very early on. Was one, I knew the names and how to apply all of these different moves, but I couldn't hit or finish an armbar on someone of my equal skill. So I knew a lot about it, but there was something missing there. And then I also realized as I coached more that just because I know all these details, I couldn't get the students to experience that, or like why, or the context was missing.
for
You
sure,
know,
for sure. Oh, it's
big
exactly
time,
right.
big time.
And
You know, you should
that's
see.
really. Oh, sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say you'd love it. I have journals of notations where I would sit and notate entire Danaher DVDs.
Yeah.
You know, all the way through what drills, all these different things. You know. So.
Yeah, I was a huge note taker historically in jiu-jitsu because I like words, I like analysis. It's kind of my thing. But once I came across this, I just threw it away. I mean, interestingly enough, like I still enjoy that style of thinking. I still enjoy that level of interaction. Like me, I like Danaher's blah blah blah. I like it, but I
See,
just know
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't we don't need it. Like it's a cool way to talk about jiu-jitsu, and I really like the way he talks about things, but
So
it has nothing to do with
I related it to musical because that same thing happens in music. I used to work as a sound engineer, and so I would like make albums, record albums, do live sound stuff like that. And what I realized was I was self-taught, and I had worked with a guy that had a PhD, a master's degree in music, and he couldn't write good music because he theoretically understood it, but it's not the same as actually doing the thing. It's out of context. And the same happens here. We want to name it. We want to know why it works. It gives us a framework to express ideas to each other quickly, but it means nothing about having skill.
Well, I think that's exactly its function. That's what's interesting. I think the transition of knowledge about is an attentional function. So it changes our perception on what is possible in the world, and we give that possibility symbols, right? Some symbolism, and that's the description of what we think is happening. But again, our movement system doesn't use that really to do a thing, because the time scales at which we're operating are lower than the time scales we use to analyze and describe what we think we're seeing. Again, all the symbols we use, all the philosophizing is all after the fact.
It's that's exactly what theory in music is for, is to analyze after the fact. It's to look at hindsight. But you know, good rock and roll is when we're not perfectly in sync. It's when I'm reacting to what you're doing in real time live.
Yeah.
You know, it's that the grind of it that's why it sounds that way. But now we have words to express it.
Yeah, my buddy always says like he's a musician too, and he says you can miss notes all day as long as you can resolve it. So
Exactly
if you
that.
can resolve
It's
it,
the
it sounds
outcome.
just as good
Yep.
as
Yep.
anything else. So
Yeah, no, yeah, it's all about the outcome,
yeah,
not how you got there. Exactly.
yeah.
That's an interesting parallel. Uh, what about like private lessons? Like, how do you approach CLA private
But
lessons?
typically just get either two or more people to do the lesson. So I usually do keep it 2 to 4. 4, it's not really good because if one person is the focus, the other 3 are just kind of there absorbing. So I typically do 2 people. I'll let one person ask questions for the first 30 minutes, like what's your problem? What are you working on? What do you think you want to experience or change? And then I design those games in real time based on what the person needs. And then and the next 30 minutes will be for the other guy. Or sometimes a dude just wants to come in and do the whole hour and let the other guy pick. It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, so I assume your focus is on guiding them towards solutions of a problem that they're bringing to you, instead of it being like, hey, show me this move, show me how to do a crab ride to berimbolo to whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, I'm having a problem in this area of the game. I would imagine also, like, a lot of times when people are asking you for private lessons, you already see them in the room to some degree or have some background, I would imagine, most of the time.
Well, doing it with my students is definitely the easier way to go because they already have the culture in them. They already understand what's expected of them. I don't have to break down any barriers, so it's definitely easier. But when I do get people from the outside who ask me specific questions like, I want a crab ride to a berimbolo, that's fine. You can come to me and say that. But I'm going to design task focuses to help you get to conditions that allow those things to emerge. So because they are emergent properties, and so I just have to understand what's the relationship between the intending player versus the receiving player. And what does the intending player need to do to create the conditions by which berimbolos, crab rides, and what have you happen? And that's what I do. I just design it around it.
Right. That makes sense. Put them in a target-rich environment where it's very clear what the target is.
Yep.
And then let it happen.
For sure.
Let them struggle.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. I'll kind of probably wrap back on that in a little bit, but the other question I have is instructionals, right? Like there is a lot of flack about like, oh, what, instructionals are useless or whatever, what I mean? You caught a ton of flack for the Danaher comment, but in context it really wasn't that crazy of a statement either. It really wasn't.
Like
everyone likes their clickbait, so
dude, and most people didn't even listen.
Yeah.
They just saw Greg trashing Danaher. But dude, I'm a Danaher supporter. Like I like the fucking guy. Like he's inspired me to think differently. He's changed the face of jiu-jitsu and how we talk about it. Like he's super smart and knows everything about fighting. Like I don't have anything negative to say about him. I just
historically, you've never said anything. I mean, I've heard a lot of your podcasts. You've never said anything negative about the guy. It's always been just that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like I don't think all that knowledge about is necessary. That's our biggest disagreement. That's it. Like
sure,
yeah.
How to impart that knowledge,
so 8 hours is not even worth it because if you know how to look at skill, if you know how to look at skill acquisition and what it is, that 8 hours is hyper bloated because what you end up looking at is most of what there's being shown is the same thing repeated over and over and over again. But since we don't think in a non-linear way, we approach as individual things when they're all just iterations of the same thing. So we could take that 8-hour DVD and shrink it down to an hour, no problem. And by the way, I have to stop saying DVD because nobody watches DVDs anymore.
Right. Yeah. You're aging
digital content, right? So nobody watches 8 hours. And I don't know if I can say this, but I'm not going to tell you where my source is from. I'll just tell you this. Someone reached out to me and sent me a message. It was like, hey man, I feel bad for all the flack you're getting. So I want to tell you something. People only watch 5% of all the DVDs bought. That's the average watch time for the entire catalog. So people aren't even watching the things.
That doesn't even surprise me, honestly. You know what I mean? It's like, how much focus can I have in a sitting anyways? And then I have to actually go try and apply it in context. It's very cumbersome to try to get all the way through something.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing as a point of analysis, if you were to be writing a dissertation on the methods used to uncover the concepts being discussed, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it just as like a tome of knowledge about, fine. A bunch of methods, cool. But the average watcher doesn't really know how to distill that. So how do we take all that shit and distill it down to a usable amount of content.
Yeah. I've found myself, like, when students send me, like, oh, I saw this on Instagram. Now I'm framing it and, like, okay, well, what made that work? Now I'm asking them the questions, like, where, why do you want to do this? What is the outcome that they got from that video, and what allowed them to do that? And then we can analyze it and decide, is this something worth investigating and trying? And like, we encourage everyone, like, watch jiu-jitsu. Our kids class at this point, they have a weekly assignment. If they bring in the outcomes from a match, so they'll watch a match. We ask our kids, write down what you saw happen in the match. What were the outcomes you saw? If they bring in a certain number, they get a reward.
That's cool.
And the kids that do it consistently, it's crazy to watch what they do. The moves that they hit, on each other, with no frame of reference or anything else, is crazy.
So here's what's really interesting. Oh, sorry.
Jeff just said he was just saying, even like stylistically tactical things they're picking up on that I don't even think they realize they're picking up on. It's just they just do it. They know there's an outcome from that they want in this game. Just go do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, so with like moves and techniques as a moment in time, as an emergent quality of an interactive relationship are real. But the idea of a move, a technique as a steady state, static thing that's idealized is not real.
Right.
So even if someone like a definable thing that has, almost is completely invariant, like an arm lock, even someone, if it looks similar, if you were to take a smaller level analysis all the way down to it, it wouldn't exist the way people says it does, and it wouldn't be caused the way people says it does. So anyway, so we can say, people do moves, they do techniques, but they're emergent. They're boop, boop, and they go away. It's not something that stays.
And that to me goes back to two things. The idea of you don't need to know how to build an engine to drive a car effectively.
Right, 100%,
yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole thing in and of itself. But a couple of other questions. What levers do you use for variability, and what levers do you use for motivation of your athletes?
Okay.
What are some ideas in that realm?
First, talk about variability. So the three things we always have access to, no matter what we do, are task, complexity, or simplification. So we can change variation with task. We could start in the mount, for example, as like the position we want to spar from, but then we could have 30 different variations of what we're trying to accomplish there. So it could be simple as holding them down, get under elbows, get behind elbows, get under one elbow. We could do scaling games. We start here and end here. If the task gets fulfilled, you lose. I mean, you could take one position and you could play it 37 different ways. So task simplification or complexification. The other is going to be time. So just by changing the time, you change the movement. So if I've tried to talk to Dr. Mike Israel about, like, if I have you do something in 5 minutes and I have you do something in 90 seconds, the movement will change. So we can use time dynamics to change variability, and then partner selection. So size, weight, skill level. So these are the three main levers that you can pull in a general environment because they always have an effect.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. What about motivation in general, or like, I guess that gets more into the psychology of being a coach, but it's part of the environment, right? It's part of the constraints on your athlete. So what are some of the things that you look for?
Focus on why your students are there. So each student is there for different reasons. If you can anchor the things you have them do to the reason they're there, you're going to get more out of them, right? Praise them for it, excite them about it, let them go in the directions they're inclined to relative to why they're in that room.
That makes a ton of sense. We have people in here that are, maybe COs or in first responder type jobs, stuff like that. And I'll always remind them, like, hey, in these types of situations, this is why I might be thinking about this. And naturally, I've started to kind of do things like that. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Are there any other?
Oh, yeah. When we think about environments, we also think about the internal environment of the athlete and how they're perceiving the world. And we don't know what that black box is doing, but we can talk to the person to try to get some semblance of what motivates them. And if we're sensitive enough, we can use that as a tool. But I mean, that's really it. So like, I find that intrinsic motivation, or trying to attach their intrinsic motivation, is probably the strongest way to get it done.
Cool. That's really, I mean, to me, that's very valuable as a coach to think like that. So I appreciate the thoughts on it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Okay, someone had commented this when I first posted it. I just got to ask, what makes a good coach? What's your definition?
Someone who understands the dynamic relationships present in your current coaching environment. So you have to know the rules of your sport. You have to know athletes. You have to know how the athletes respond to that sport. You have to know how the athletes respond to each other. You have to know how your athlete change from day to day, week to week, month to month. You have to be very sensitive to this dynamic and changing environment, because that's what a coach is. You're basically communicating with an entire system that you are embedded in and part of. And if you're not sensitive to those relationships, you will not be able to coach effectively. DeAndre made this pretty clear on the Simple Man podcast, the difference between an instructor and a coach. An instructor is just someone who shares knowledge, who shows moves, who, does the current meta. But a coach is somebody who's embedded directly with their own system and is trying to be sensitive to and affect their own system. So I guess that would be how we could define an effective coach or a good coach.
So a good coach knows the sport, knows the athlete, and gives a shit.
Yeah, for sure. And it just understands how it all functions, or tries to anyway. One of my old training partners from Team Lord Urban is Julius Park. He was a purple belt. He runs Crazy 88, the gym. And he said to me, this was years ago, this was back in 2007. He was having a conversation, I overheard it, but I never forgot it. He said, a coach who cares is worth more than a coach's skill. So a coach who cares is worth everything. And for some reason that appealed to me. And I just held it in my mind. So
I think that's, I that's my experience. You know what I mean? Like, if I wouldn't have even been able to go down the road of exploring what being a CLA coach is and applying that in my own gym, if my first coach, Kenny, and Kenny Martin, shout out, didn't give me the autonomy to go explore. That was one of the first things he said is, I don't know everything about jiu-jitsu, but I want to put you in front of the people that can show you what you need to learn.
Yeah.
And never hindered it. You know what I mean? Just never got in the way of that ever,
Yeah.
And then that's been my experience too with Heath from PSF. You know what I mean? Is the autonomy to do what you need to do to get good. Create an environment where, you can get good and be self-directed and do the things you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that the training environment should be athlete-centric, not coach-centric. And this is like when I talk to DeAndre's coaches from Coastal, and anytime I get to speak to them or reach out to them, I always shake their hands and say, thank you for the gift you've given me. Because the thing is with DeAndre and Gavin, they were such good coaches because they gave them freedom. They realized that the boys loved it so much, they just kept giving them opportunities. And even though those two are their best guys, when they came back and said, yo, I'm learning so much at Standard, they were like, go, pursue your dreams, go become the best you can be. Like, they basically pushed them out the door. You know what I mean? And like, imagine a coach trying to stifle two kids like that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've seen it many times, and like, I'm relatively, in the grand scheme of things, very new to jiu-jitsu, very new to coaching, but I've seen it plenty of times with the coaches that lord over their students. It's like, you're not even a competition school or something like that, and you're like lording over these kids. Like, it's it's sickening. It's crazy. Or you're a traitor for cross training, or or like, you can't cover that guy because he's from over there, and you know what I mean? That shit's crazy to me.
Yeah, agree.
Let's see. He said, let's see, Hermes Lazarus said, how can I motivate my students to be as excited about continuous goals as they are with terminal goals? It's a real issue.
Yeah, no, truly, honestly. So the way that I try to do it is I try to help them frame what success means. So the reason terminal games are a little bit easier is because the competitive spirit can be it can be felt a little bit more, right? So like, oh, I won, I reached this outcome. Yay. And it's very definitive. Like, this is the result I got and I beat you. But continuous can seem a little more nebulous. So what I try to get the guys to do is, like, let's say we're just playing inside position continuously.
Yep.
You want to try to beat your partner for 10 minutes. Like, if I could get inside position and for 10 minutes, I win. So we try to get them excited about that. So, or let's say we have 10 minutes and I stay there for 5 minutes and 30 seconds of it, and you stay there for 4 minutes and 20 or 32 seconds of it or whatever. Then fucking I win, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we want that's what we want. We want to be competitive even over the small stuff and get excited about some other metric of success within that continuous space.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. I mean, framing things and offering perspective, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we have to change the way we look at things, right? So in a training environment, success is any action that leads to a performance increase. And so time in position is a metric of performance increase. So if I can stay between your arms for an extended period of time and better than I did yesterday against a wider variety of people, this shows a performance increase.
Right.
So we should get excited about those even though they're not so obvious, right?
That actually brings up a good point. George Valadares and I talked about this at length when he was up here. Is like the measurement for skill has to change along with this, right? Because like,
Agreed.
I mean, we've all seen the old school blue belt test, you know, demonstrate 2 takedowns, do a Americana from mount. You got to do your hip bump sweep to a Kimura to, you know, all the things that, you know, whereas now it's like, it seems like for me anyways, and this came from talking with George specifically, was how long can I get this condition to exist in the environment? So how long can I hold on to ankles? Right? How long can I turn his feet away from me? And then for terminal stuff, like how fast can I do that? And then is this student on a 3-month, 6-month basis able to do it faster? Is it able to get more outcomes that are successful in the same, you know, against someone of their similar level? How do you measure that? How do you think about that?
Well, for me, it's exactly that. So it could be like how fast you got it, how consistently you got it, how many times you got it, how many different people you got it on. Did you train it for 6-8 weeks and perform it in on a tournament? Again, it just is the result of what's happening in training changing within the training span, or are you seeing it emerge again in a performance setting? So I think that's what we look at. We look at upward trends in the training cycle, and we will look at strong outcomes in the performance setting. And we could say that, okay, now we're seeing an improvement. But we have to be careful because skill is online. And that's the thing that people think that when they have a skill, they always have it. Like this is what, like some of the ego shit that happens with higher belts. Like, where, oh, I'm a black belt, you know, I've been training for fucking 20 years. Well, if you don't train like your guys, you're going to slide back. And those motherfuckers are going to meet you in the middle, and your guard's not going to work anymore. So it's not something you possess, but something that's constantly adapting to the efforts of your training.
So how, you know, again, so in that new framework, how do we move forward in an ideal world? Like, you know, in Greg's ideal world, how do we create levels of skill? You know, like, is it a belt system? Is it ELO? Like, what is it that we go, okay, now this guy is at the next level? What are the things you're looking for and things like that?
So right now, like the belts are too nebulous. Like an ELO would be really cool to see, but even ELOs go up and down, man. Like
for sure. And then you can break ELO systems too by, you know, those aren't an easy fix or easy to manage either. George asked, this is a good way of framing the question, actually. George said, what's the framework used for belt promotions? What's your framework for belt promotions?
So I mean, most people aren't going to like mine because in one sense it's highly subjective and the other side it's not. So let's talk about the objective side first. If you're a competitor and you're going out and winning at whatever level you win at, and it's consistent, I'm going to promote you immediately because I'm not going to waste your time anymore. I want you to be able to get those difficult rounds that you need. So like Noah, for example, has only been training for 4 years, but I just promoted him to brown belt in January. Like I told him, you have a year at each level, man. I'm getting you to black belt as fast as I can because I want to open up the competitive space for you. Like I'm thinking like high school wrestling. Like you start your 9th grade year. By the end of it, you might be good enough to maybe make it to like a regional, but you might face a guy who's been training since he was 7. And there's no barrier between he and you. And so you have to take that thing. So anyway, I want belt system to reflect that. It's just a key to move on to the next level of difficulty if you're performing well at your current. That's my objective way.
So like if he hit brown, and then hit some struggles or something,
Stay
he's going to sit there a
for a while.
little longer, right? Like that's how you go, okay, well, but he's dominating these guys that are black belts. It's time to move him up
For sure.
in the comp.
For sure.
So yeah, Jeff's right here. He said, but what level of competition? Like for your serious competitors, like if they go win some Nagas, we're not bumping them up.
No.
Like you know what I mean? So is there a benchmark, or are we, are you still developing that?
It's the tournaments we enter collectively. So let's say I do a Naga Advanced Division, an ADCC Open Advanced Division, and then I do an IBJJF Purple Belt. And in each of those, I fucking smoked everybody. Dude, I'm ready to move up.
Yeah.
So that means that whether it's regional, whether it's national, whatever, I'm performing above my current level, whoever showed up that day. And it could be a false positive, but it doesn't matter because I'm seeing consistent change in my athlete based on the challenges that are presented.
Yeah, and you're also not basing this on one result. You're not going, oh, we won one of these. You're going over multiple. There's variance in all of this, right? Like there's so many facets to competition. One result just doesn't give us a pattern. One tournament doesn't give us a pattern. Yeah, you have to get numerous outcomes before you
really in both sides too, right? Like, so let's say Noah spends all year winning every ADCC Advanced Open that he enters and a bunch of little IBJJFs, but he goes to Worlds and loses first round. That's not going to stop him from getting promoted. I don't give a fuck that it's called Worlds, right? Like, doesn't mean anything to me. Like, because we're getting to black belt where you're going to have to fight the guys. And some tournaments, the guys will show up and some they don't. And they will be the real metric of how good you are.
That makes a ton of sense. Now, what about your non-competitors?
Just how they're performing in the room. Are they interacting with everybody in the room? And can I see skill emerging? So am I seeing guard passes happen? Am I seeing pinning happen? Am I seeing submissions happen? Am I seeing variation emerge? And so at the end of every year, all the non-competitors, they get promoted. Like, oh, hey, Joe's been training for 3 years and he's been kicking ass 2 days a week. He gets a blue belt. You know what I mean? But it's still relative to our rooms. It's still going to be a bit difficult.
So we've been open for about 2 years, right? And we started. We were a lot of like heavy sparring and stuff, not a ton of drilling to begin with. So we switched over to like CLA pretty quickly after we opened. And what I noticed as I've developed like a foundations program is the way people talk about it has changed. So that's, at least for me, they start to ask these questions that are like, fuck, I wish I thought like that about jiu-jitsu when I was a white belt. I'd be, what I mean? I'd have gotten better so much even faster, Like,
I feel like their questions are more functional.
It's very pointed, and it's like, here's a failure point I'm having. I was trying to do this, and this is what the outcome I wanted, and it's not working, and I'm having trouble figuring out why. Like those are the kinds of questions I'm getting more often than not from the guys that are here at least 2-3 days a week. Maybe they watch a little jiu-jitsu once in a while when there's a big event. So
I honestly, I love those guys. Like everyone thinks I'm just like this hard ass, like DeAndre only. DeAndre is just a representative of at the peak of what we're doing. But I have a student here I talk about all the time, and I tell everyone about him. And if he listens, he'll probably laugh. His name is Jamie. Jamie is 38 years old. He's got a few kids. He's got a wife. He used to work for NPR. He's just a regular dude. Just like, he's legally blind, so he has to like ride a skateboard everywhere. The first time this guy walked in, I never thought he would walk back through my door again. This dude has been training for 2 years, and he's here every single day. His improvement has been staggering. And he's beautiful to watch because everyone who whines and cries, they don't get to see the Jamies here in my room. They don't get to see, Josh, who's another 30-year-old guy who's a blue belt, who the first time competing, he competed at Masters Worlds and made it all the way to the finals. They don't see this shit, And so those students are really, I think, a mark of how strong the program is.
Yeah, I'm some nobody purple belt. You know what I mean? Nobody knows who I am. I've been very blessed to train with some really, really talented people, been able to get into some talented rooms. But in 2 years, we've had 4 people podium at Pans without drill. You know what I mean? Like, hey, once is an accident, but now you're talking different body types. We're talking, now we're starting to touch adult blue belt podiums at majors. Like, Something's working, something's changing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's just luck, you know. But I agree. Like when I go to a local tournament and I see a student, we had a guy. This is what really actually made us believers. I literally I saw some of your content and I was like, all right, that kind of resonates with me. I'm going to read about this, and I went through you know, when we first opened, like, what do I know about teaching? Like now I'm asking people for money. I was doing this for free in my living room, you know, and before that I was at a combat club during COVID that was just everyone out for themselves. So like, for me, I was like, now I'm asking people for money.
Yeah, right.
What do I know? What do I actually know about being a coach? And then started reading, started doing research, saw your stuff. And the first tournament, when we had finally just given up on doing anything any other way, the local tournament, we had a guy, you know, 2 months in and he's hitting submissions on people and takedowns that no one's ever shown him. We've never done that. You know what I mean? He's never drilled. And I'm like, okay, these are average people that aren't athletes. They didn't come in with any attributes that were special at all. And they're performing really well, better than I did, you know?
Yeah,
so yeah, it kind of got everyone all bought in. That's why all the coaching staff is super excited about you coming. You know, we have an interesting mix of people in our room. I think you'll have a really, really good time. You know,
I'm looking forward to it, man.
We got a couple traditional black belts, but everyone's like getting into this, and everyone's at their own place. So I'm reading like what was Rob Gray's new book,
How to coach.
Becoming a coach. Something he said in there really changed my perspective on it, about like you have to meet people where they are. Yes. That's the hardest. That's super hard. It's the same problem I run into when I first started coaching CLA style, was not intervening, was being like, okay, this is where you're at with your understanding of it, and letting them come to it in their own time, and having their own autonomy to figure it out for themselves.
So everyone's heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? So we all know one side. There's actually two sides to the effect. So one side of the effect is, as your ignorance goes up, so does your confidence. Okay, that's the one we all know about. But the other one is, at the expert level of a thing, we're ignorant to how long it took us to get there. So you start to lose sight of what it took you to become who you currently are. And so sometimes we project that onto our learners. You know, we're like, oh, why can't you get it? Yeah, but dude, at year one, was Greg getting it? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
well, it's like I can't give you the thing. It's like when I spoon feed you, you don't really learn anything. You know what I mean? You're not. You have no. There's no depth to the learning. And it's like, I understand as a coach, it's really hard to watch someone struggle and go, I think I know how to fix you, and that's my job. Yeah. And then I feel good about it.
For sure.
Because I gave you the thing that fixed you. And in reality, I might have actually just hindered your own progress. Yeah. In reality, I said something to you that created a belief system without you even realizing it, that something is or isn't possible. And now you are acting on it.
For sure.
And I see that all the time. There's so many moves that some authority gave me that said, it'll always be this. This is how it is. And then either I couldn't do it and I feel like a failure, or I believe that something isn't possible. So I'm organizing my behaviors around that belief. It's so easy when I'm your coach, I'm on a pedestal, just by the nature you walked in and don't know anything from Adam, you know, that it's easy for me to start instilling belief systems in you. And if I put the wrong ones in, that is more detrimental than any detail I can give you.
I agree, man.
So I'm off my soapbox.
Get on, bro. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I love talking about this stuff. This is going to be the most unseen live video you've done, but I feel like there's some gems in here. There's some absolute free game in here that people are going to miss.
So what, dude, I just came on to do the shit you asked me to, motherfucker. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No, I love it. I talk about this stuff all day. So, what are, I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have a couple other little bullet points that some of our coaches had asked about. If you had to design, you guys don't have a kids program, right?
No,
not yet.
No, I had one, but I canceled it during COVID.
Okay, yeah. So if you, so you've run a CLA kids program then?
Yep.
Okay.
What was it like?
What was that like?
Amazing.
We're developing one now. You know? Yeah.
So actually, I'll give you
what are
my
some of the
speech.
early things? We've been doing it for what, 6 months?
No, I've been doing it for longer than
A little
that.
closer to a year.
For about 8.
So we're
like
still
3
new to
months
it.
after
You know, a
we
year
started
in or
doing
something
it.
like that. Maybe a little over.
Once we started the intro class, that's when I started.
Give us some gems.
Yeah, okay, so when I come to your school, I'll sit down and we'll talk about this specifically. So don't let me forget. Remind me of Blue's Clues, okay? Because for me, that was the big change for me. So when I learned about why Blue Clues is what it is, I was like, oh my God, I can do this with a kids program.
Yeah.
I used it as my framework.
That's cool.
For how I ran a class, and it was amazing. But either way, to be specifically with CLA, everything was very specific. So if did we want to work on singles, we played the single leg game. If we wanted to work on doubles, we played the double leg game. If we wanted to hold someone down chest to chest, we played the pinning game. You know, everything was very obvious. It's exactly what it was. And the things I was asking to do were they were just, I want you to hold on. I want you to follow. I want you to turn them. Very things that kids can do. And then we corrected them by telling them how they could win the game. So let's say we're playing the single leg game and the kids are just looking crazy, but they're picking up legs. Good. So we get back together. I'm like, I want to play the single leg game again, but this time, if you want to win, you have to get as low as possible. The lower you get, the easier you're going to win the single leg game. Let's go. And then all of a sudden, kids are getting super low. You know what I mean? They're starting getting wrestling stances. They're starting to play competitively. Kids, you just suggest things, make it exciting, and then say go. And they just do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and I'm sure when you're up here too, I'd love to sit and pick your brain for a little bit. Maybe we can make a little content, chill at the gym. It's funny, you guys, what do you call your gym space? It's the Black Church, right? The what?
The Black Temple.
Temple, yeah. So we got the Black Sea. That's our whole gym floor to ceiling is painted black mats, the whole night. So
our thing is like mixing like that. You know, we love to play on the fantasy thing. It's just fun. Like the whole thing was like the demon monks. So like all we do is jujitsu, but we do it ruthlessly. We do it thoroughly. Like you're gonna get it. You know what I mean? But we're also dedicated. So it's the demon monks, right? And where do the demon monks stay? At the temple. But it can't just be a regular temple. It's got to be the Black Temple. And everything's black in here. You know what I mean? And we have like a gong and shit that we hit. Like it's just the Black Temple.
That's sick. Yeah, we have a couple. Yeah, we have a couple giant flags. You know, that's the whole thing. That's awesome. You know, and I'd like to get in definitely a more in-depth like technical discussion when we're face to face. That'd be fun. Just record some content and you know, I could get super nerdy about it. I'm trying to keep it somewhat palatable for later, but so we got May 25th at noon at Black Flag.
Yep.
I'm super excited to have you out. We're doing 11 a.m. How long do your seminars usually go?
2 hours. Usually what I do is I do roughly 90 minutes worth of live work, and then we break for at last 30 minutes for question and answer where we reflect on the whole thing. And then after that 2 hours, I will stay there until you guys are done talking to me. So like the 2 hours is what you pay for, but my time there, I'll spend as much as you need. And that's typically what I do. Like I was in British Columbia, and I'm not joking. After my 2 hour seminar, I sat there for 6 fucking hours. Like I did it 2 days in a row. The guy who watched, they're like, bro, I don't know how you did that. Like that was crazy. You didn't stop speaking for over 8 hours total. And I was like, that's what was asked of me, so that's what I did.
There should be a good mix of people out here. We got people coming from kind of all over the Midwest. So
Cool, man.
Usually when we host seminars and stuff, when I start having people come from down the way, it turns into a decent turnout. So it should be a good time. You bringing anyone out or just you solo?
I was thinking about bringing Noah, but Noah and D are going to do some training with PJ Barch, so I don't know if that's going to run into I don't know what that's going to look like. I usually bring Noah, and part of the reason why I bring Noah is because he's our youngest guy, and when you fucking train with him, you're going to be like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't like.
He's what belt is he right now?
Brown.
He just got his brown belt, right?
So he's been training for 4 years. In January was his 4-year anniversary, like 4-year training thing.
That's awesome.
and the dude can do everything. He wrestle, pass, back take, submit, pin, get off his
Yeah.
back. Like he's phenomenal, and he's the big thing, right? So he's the big project. Came here at 15. He's 19. He never had any previous grappling experience. It's the bullshit that people are like. Well,
Oh yeah.
if you don't have a blah 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 blah, he's the fucking guy. So keep on.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's I get it. You know.
It was actually really cool. Like when we went to B team, which was a blast. Those guys are awesome. Like it was super fun. Noah trained with Pierre Leclerc.
Mhm.
It was his main training partner for the first day he was there, and like I think that was very convincing for Pierre. He was like, man, holy shit.
Pretty cool.
And it was cool to watch Noah train with a guy like that. It was really cool.
Well, if anyone does come out, I think we do have some pretty decent high level guys coming out that'll be fun to roll around with. So I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. And you got any final thoughts on anything? I haven't seen too much in the chat.
There was actually quite a bit in the chat, and we were just bullshitting. I saw a bunch of questions.
Jeff? What did I miss some good stuff?
There was one. If you were to publish a paper regarding CLA and BJJ, over what period of time do you feel that behaviors studied would emerge consistently, or can be considered data?
Okay, that was an in-depth question.
Like what amount of time is a good enough sample size?
Yeah. So okay, if we're doing a study on CLA in grappling,
Yeah, I heard him.
what are your thoughts on that?
I actually don't know because the time scales are different for each person. That's the difficult thing about training or trying to study a nonlinear system. We don't know what the input output ratio is, so it'd be a little bit difficult. So we would have to control for live work. I thought they tried it in wrestling, they tried it in judo, but basically what they would do is they would have, like, of course, your typical controlled group not doing anything. Then you had your group just practicing techniques. Then you had your group doing a mix, and then you have your group just doing like maybe some form of CLA. And they've done that a bunch in different sports, so I don't really think we need it for jiu-jitsu. I mean, it'd be cool if we could do it, but I think the demands are a little bit different. I think it's harder to get people to do jiu-jitsu for an extended period of time than like kick a soccer ball. I think it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean it's not as popular. There's not as many bodies doing it. Like it's not a professional sport in the way that other professional sports are yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it shows that
it would be hard to organize or fund like you'd have to probably pay practitioners to show up and drill. You know what I mean? Like that would be an expensive experiment to run on a big enough sample to matter. And I figure leave that to like the real scientists. I'll continue to read their papers and try to apply it. But
the thing is when CLA is tested in any continuous complex game, it always outperforms everything else. Like it just is better. We know it's better, but jiu-jitsu guys are just slow.
It's all right. They'll catch up. I mean, frankly, there's a lot of sports that would be resistant to this.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, it's always the professionals that are going to have the early access to the minds that are putting this out first. They're always playing it close to the vest. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not letting you see how they're training. They're not sharing tape of their practices and stuff like that. That's very private. Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, how much money is in pro soccer? You know what I mean? What's the next question?
Any books or papers you would recommend for aspiring CLA coaches, Greg?
Yeah. The Constraints-Led Approach by Ian Renshaw and Keith Davids. Nonlinear Pedagogy by the same authors. All Rob Grace stuff. How we learn to move, learning to optimize movement. And I think it's How to Coach Ecologically. It's sitting on the table over there. Or How to Be an Ecological Coach. That's tons of information, and you'll get everything you need. If you want to read papers, read anything by Ian Renshaw and Keith Davids. I think they're the most digestible, and they also write high-level opinion pieces too. It's not just the studies; they give their opinion on the studies, and I think that's very valuable for the average reader. So,
do you have any plans to release? I had seen a post recently that maybe you guys are going to be doing some instructional content. Do you ever plan on doing any sort of like field manual for CLA coaches kind of thing as you?
Yeah, we're really trying to figure it out. I mean, I have other guys in the community that are trying to make videos too, and I got a friend of mine just hit me up today. I was like, dude, we're trying to do this video thing, but we don't know how to organize it because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, I know. I've been trying it for fucking 3 years. Like, we can't figure it out.
It doesn't. I would. It's hard to translate it to video. It's also so individual to this athlete, not even just this room, this the culture of my gym, it's those two guys. What do they need? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So we're
could
gonna put
imagine
something out.
making it difficult.
We're gonna put something out in like 2 weeks. It'd be super cheap, like $50 or something.
Cool.
See if we can generate any revenue from it. I mean, because the thing is like we're just saying, hey, here's some shit for you, but if you want to support the gym, like, you know, whatever. I mean, I've given out so much free content over the last 3 years.
At this point, there's enough out there. If you're interested and motivated, you can figure it out.
For sure.
And you've been very giving of your time. Anytime I've ever reached out to you, interacted with you, very early on when we started doing CLA, you got on, I don't even know if you remember this, but you were on a call with me for probably a solid hour. And it gave me just enough confidence to just go, all right, full bore, head first. Let's.
Yeah, I remember all the conversations I have, man. I've got a pretty strong memory.
Appreciate that. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things, like the community is there and the other coaches that are doing it will give their time. Like, if you want to figure it out, it's out there. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, I've put enough out.
Yeah.
Here's some stuff that, hey, if you want to buy it, like, otherwise figure.
And also too, we're going to make like a collaborative thing. So after we release it, we're going to try to get feedback. So did you watch it? Did you use it? What did you like? What did you hate? Was it useless? Was the price point too high? Because we're trying to figure out how to make these videos. And so but we need the consumer to be in with us as well, because you guys are going to be the one that's going to buy it. So if we're going to take the time to actually give, because the thing is, if you're going to spend money, you might as well spend something that's going to be valuable to you.
It needs to solve the problem.
Correct.
If it's not solving the problem I'm having, then it's not really what I need. There's already plenty of instructionals out there, you know.
For sure.
Jeff had another one.
When planning foundations versus all levels classes, what are some rules of thumb in determining when you started adding too many layers to the foundations and it's time to rotate back through and move that task? So like scaling for like complexity and
that's a super hard question to ask, because again, it's room specific, it's person specific, but generally I stay within a large framework. So let's say we do standing. So we only really focus on 3 stereotypical sharp lines of demarcation for connection, like anything around the head and shoulders, anything around the hips, anything around the legs. So all the hand fighting has to do with getting to those 3 points. Any of the connected positions operate from those 3 points. And we use variation from those lines of demarcation. So it's not like once you can hand fight to the hips, that's enough. We do a lot from there, but we're always interacting with the hips, shoulders, head, and legs in the foundation class, specific to what you would see people do when they're actually wrestling and putting people on the floor. For the hand fight, we focus getting in between outside under elbows. We focus on removing hands. We focus 2-on-1. Basic things you would need to do to wrestle, or head position. And then when we get on the floor for guards, we basically focus on 3 major lines of demarcation: closed, open, and half, just as like big, obvious, steady states. And then for pins, we focus on chest to chest, chest to back. For submissions, our basic naked, arm in strangles, twisting straight locks, and then legs, twisting straight locks, and that's it. So that's our foundations program. So everything that we do revolve around touching those lines of demarcation and doing different things with them.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's all it really needs to be.
It doesn't need to be any more specific for that for new players. They just need to know how to push and pull bodies, twist and turn arms, twist and turn legs, strangle necks. They don't really need much more, because a lot of people never grabbed a body and held it still, or resisted being held still. Like that's foundational.
When people say, but not for beginners, I'm like, why can't someone walk in and just tell them, grab the other person's wrist for as long as you can. Don't let them grab yours. Yeah. If you are able-bodied and could open the door and walk in here, you can probably start there. Even if the most uncoordinated, shy, timid person could walk in and probably do that.
Well, coordination is skill work. So helping non-coordinated people become coordinated is the foundation of developing adaptable and flexible skill. So if we can't create coordination, then we can't coach. So that's really our job. So if we have an awkward fuck out there who can't grab wrists, then we need to fix that, right?
Right. Yeah. What was it? You had another one?
So
that was good.
It's funny, the wording on this. It's basically like how to deal with like non-cooperative students in the drill, but the wording is how do you deal with old heads who just want to show they know subs while are trying to learn skills? So like people veering outside.
Do you ever have like visitors or like okay, when do you intervene if you see things going outside of the mission area? Or how do you deal with someone who's maybe stubborn about that?
Yeah. So new players I always put with more experienced players here, so the experienced players can like just impose their will on them, so they can keep them task focused for no other reason. You know, like when we get visitors, for example, we don't just say do open rounds. We put the visitors in these constrained rounds with the advanced guys, so they can really, you know, when I put a new guy with DeAndre who'll never let you off your ass for 10 minutes, you're convinced very quickly that task focus is important. And so we don't really have to do much more convincing than that. For the newer players, it's a little bit more difficult because you'll have a guy who maybe has a year of experience, will come into the foundations class and will want to fucking talk to his partner. So two things usually. One, it takes one reminder from me, like, hey man, don't worry about it right now. Just let's stay task focused. We can talk after class. Or the students will do it. Like my students will tell the visitors to shut up. Like they'll be like, I don't want to hear your explanation, man. Just let me train. Like because that's the culture here. So they just impose it on the visitor.
Yeah, this side Jeff laughed because he was like, "That's me as fuck."
Man, I'm glad that's you, bro. Fuck.
Yeah.
Some people need to be checked.
Yeah. I mean, we have a room that's extremely competitive. I think as a coach, for me, it's almost been harder to find ways to dial the competitiveness down in certain situations. I mean, I as a coach, I heard this a long time ago about baseball. It's easier to teach a pitcher how to throw accurately than it is to teach a pitcher how to throw hard.
It's so true.
Give me competitive guys, and I will eventually figure out how to funnel that energy in the right place. But sometimes those new guys, we got a lot of wrestlers in our room. We have guys that, you know, wrestled all the way at international freestyle level, all the way down to, you know, guys that are really trying to do this professionally and full time. And it's been that's been actually a challenge for me sometimes, is like, how do I get them to be more playful?
You just have to change their focus. So you have to make what they're doing, they can't avoid it, and you have to make it more exploratory in nature. So they have to engage that way. Or you can put them with somebody who's high enough level to prevent them from doing those things.
Sure.
And so
I found my language changing and reminding them, guys, we're just going to be kids on a playground. No one has anything going up. No one has any comps coming up. So, you know, let's just get outcomes. Win, lose, draw, doesn't matter. Just get outcomes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I love those little cultural reminders, because I think culture is a strong motivator when, you know, when they feel like the whole room is doing something that they need to be part of. You know, telling people like, collect your mistakes, collect your misses. That's your gift. Like that's actually what you're here for.
I love it. I love it. Was there something else, Jeff? Is that pretty good?
How long does it
typically
take for you to cycle through everything in the? So like, how long is the curriculum?
So yeah, do you have it? So for your foundations class, what's the rhythm of your cycle all the way through?
It's reciprocal. So like, it's always standing guard pin. And maybe for 3 weeks we focus on something very specific from standing, like underhooking to singles, right? And then maybe on the guarded position, it's more like bottom guy gain inside position and destabilize, top guy fight to the outside and connect. And then for the pinning situation, it's using underhook to get the arm breaks. And so for 3 weeks, we'll fuck around with different variations of those things. And then as they start to stabilize, I'll be watching and I'll see, okay, I don't see any, like, let's say head and arms at all. So the next few weeks will be maybe the same underhook situation from pins, but we're trying to collect the head and arm together in different ways. And I see that stabilize. And maybe I don't see people doing with their legs. So then that becomes the next 3 weeks of focus.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I think I'll be interested. I want to show you what I have for a curriculum when you come through for our foundations. A lot of what you share, I've either heard before and I've adopted it and whatever, but so most of it would be stuff you've seen or came right out of your mouth kind of thing. But you know, we work the whole game every day. And it typically, so like I say it's a 3-month cycle, but what nobody knows about my curriculum is there's only 2 classes, and it's focusing on maintain attachments.
Losing you, bro.
No, we're good. Am I here?
Yeah, you're there.
You know, it's really simple stuff. Maintain attachments, work Kazushi from the feet. So work hands, feet, knees towards the ground. it's some variation of that. I mix up what the
Yeah.
attachments are, or what the target is, but ultimately that's the skill. We work it every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We work from the ground in some way, shape, or form, from a pin, top or bottom, with a focus of top or bottom. That's the only thing that changes is my focus on the top guy or the bottom guy.
That's actually,
We go,
dude, I mean, that's what
yeah, and then
that was my,
I call it 3 months because we cover those 4 submission groups: head and arm, straight locks, twisting locks, and naked strangles.
Yep.
And by the time I've gone through that, it takes about 3 months.
Yep. That was actually my original iteration of this that I shared with everybody. And it was exactly that. It'd be every 3 months, like things would be shifting. But I'm doing that same thing, but I'm finding more novel ways to do it.
Sure. Yeah. You're a little bit more flowing with that.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. The more I'm doing this, the more I realize, like I had written, like we talked about earlier, I love notes. I had written all these ideas and the games, and this game is great and that game is great. I have some games that I like to pull out here and there and stuff for sure. And like I'll change the targets, I'll move the goalposts in those games, but it's don't let him off his back. That's the game. Yeah. The floor is lava. Dirty. Sure. Like these, I just name them after kids' games basically, and that's what we do. And then when I'm cornering, that's all I have to say, and my athlete knows exactly where to focus their attention.
For sure.
So it's interesting. I'm excited to have you look at that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, me too, man.
Was there any other banger questions? That was a good hour. I enjoyed.
Kind of answered the next question. I mean,
yeah.
Cool. Let's wrap it there, man. Cool. That was fun. We'll have to do this again. We got some good questions. So
yeah, man, I agree. We'll do the seminar. We'll revisit this, get some feedback, see what you guys thought, and then maybe plan for another one sometime in the future.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, Greg. Thanks for your time, man. Look forward to seeing you. Rock and roll. Peace. You guys are welcome. Thanks for being here. Go follow Go Forth Brand on YouTube. Go follow Go Forth Brand on Instagram. Follow Black Flag JJ. Follow Jeff the Uke. Follow Team Sunshine BJJ. Thank you guys. We appreciate you.